Let's make a plaid pumpkin. It's super cute. Really easy. I chained 81, which is going to leave me with 80 stitches. So skip that first chain, come into the second chain. I'm going to come into the back bump just because it makes it easier for me to sew it together at the end. And we're just going to do single crochet all the way across this first row. You can go into the front of the chain if that's easier for you. If you want to find your back bump, this is the front, turn it over, and all those horizontal bars there, those are your back bumps. Just makes a really nice foundation chain. And the first foundation row. All right, continue on. It's going to look like that. See how that gives you a nice edge there? All right, all the way across, you should have 80 stitches when you finish your first row. Okay, I'm at the end of my first row. I have 80 stitches. That's really important for your pattern. And chain 3, that will count as your first double crochet and chain 1. And you're going to skip that very first stitch. You're going to go into this stitch with a double crochet. And a chain 1. And that's going to be our pattern all the way across. You're going to skip the next stitch and go into this stitch. So skip, go into here with a double crochet and a chain 1. Again, skip the next stitch and go into this stitch with a double crochet and a chain 1. And it's leaving all these little spaces for you, and that's where we're going to weave our chains in and out to make our plaid pattern. Go all the way across, and I will meet you when I'm at the end of my row. Okay, I'm at the end of row 2. You should still have 80 stitches. Your chains count as a stitch, but the even easier way to check this is you should have 40 spaces. And I suggest every few rows that you stop and make sure that you still have 40 spaces. If you don't, it's going to mess up your plaid pattern. And so it's just going to be a repeat of that row 2. 1, 2, 3, turn, and now it's going to be easy to find your stitches. You're going to skip the space and go into that double crochet with the double crochet, and a chain. If you prefer, you could make a stacked single crochet here, or even a half double crochet and a chain 1, and then start your pattern if you want this to be a little thicker for when you seam your pumpkin together, but it's not necessary. I want it to be fast and easy. All right, and we're going to continue on through row 5, and I will meet you at the end of row 5, and that's where we're going to switch color. We'll start with our color B. I'll meet you at the end of row 5. When you're at the end of the row, make sure you need to have this space, so make sure you do your double crochet chain 1 here and come into the top of that chain 3. As I said, if it's easier for you to do a stacked double crochet or even a half double crochet and a chain 1 at the end of your row, that's fine as well. Okay, I'm going to continue on with my chain 3. It's faster and easier for me. But as I said, you might want to have a thicker, more substantial stitch at the end. So when you're seaming, it makes it a little easier for you, but I did not find that to be necessary. Okay, continue on to row 5. Okay, I'm at the end of row 5. from now on you're going to have 4 rows of each color, and you'll know this when you have 4 spaces going up, and you should have 40 spaces coming across. So to change color, you simply, I already cut my tail here. I started my double crochet. I still have 2 loops left on the hook. I'm going to pull my new color, which is leaf, through. I'm going to chain 1 right here, pull that tail through, and you can tie these together just to hold them. And you can either just tuck those ends and cut them fairly short, tuck them in, or you can weave them in if you like. All right, so that was my chain 1, 2, 3, and it's just going to be the same thing. 4 more rows. Make sure that you have 40 spaces when you're finished. And make sure you're chaining 1 in between each so that you have a space. It can be really easy to miss that chain. I usually tell myself it's really odd how I do things. But once I go in, then I say 1, 2, 3, and then I know I have it all. I talk to myself a lot. All right, so this is leaf. My next color will be wheat, and then tangerine, and then dark leaf. Obviously, you can make this in any color combination you like. I like to make them in all neutral colors. You can also make them in coastal colors if you have a beach cottage kind of theme going on. Whatever you want to do is perfectly fine. Let me know what colors you used. I'd be very interested. Right now it's measuring about 22 inches across. Once I finished the plaid and stuffed it, it was actually around 26 inches around. All right, I am going to continue on, and I'll meet you when I'm ready to make my chains and make my plaid pattern. Have fun. Okay, now we're going to make our chains. That's what's going to be woven in and out of our spaces to make our plaid pattern. Anywhere probably between 35 and 40 chains. You're going to have to see for yourself. It should reach top and bottom. You're going to be weaving this in at the top and bottom, and once you cut your yarn and pull, leave yourself a bit of a tail because you're going to want to weave that in, pull it tight. So make sure you've already done this, you've already pulled your tails tight before you decide how long you want it to be, and you don't want it to be really stretched, just want it to kind of lay there flat. You're going to make 8 of each color, and then we're going to make our plaid in the same color pattern that we had your colors A, B, C, D, and E, whatever colors you chose. And then we're going to weave them in and out. And I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. Okay, I've made 8 chains of each color. And now I'm going to weave them in. I'm going to go ahead and weave in all 8 of one color in each, one in each row, 8 rows. You can split them up. Excuse me, do 4. It'll just be a smaller group. However you want to do it, but I'm going to go ahead and do the 8 because that's just a nice block of color. And we're going to start by weaving them in. Also, I'm going to go in the same order, A, B, C, D, E, as the body of the pumpkin is. Okay, be right back. I need to get a drink. I'm losing my voice. Okay. Here we go. Making the chains was by far the most boring part to me, but I got through it. So I have my chain, the end of my chain on my tapestry needle, And I want to make sure that I secure that. You can just tie a knot. It's not going to show. Because you're going to be sewing this all together. I'll cut that later, probably just shorter, and pop it in the inside so you can't see it. Okay, and now we're going to weave in and out. I'm already at the bottom here, so we're going to go in from the bottom up. Now we're going to go over and under, over this one and under. Pull it through. Make sure you're in that first space. You're not moving over here. It's very, very important that you stay lined up. Okay, so over, under, over, under, over. Make sure you're staying all the way over here, the same row. That's what can mess you up with a plaid if you get on the wrong row. Over, under, over, under. It's fun to see the plaid start taking shape, having all the colors together. And under. Now once you're at this end, kind of pull it because you don't want it puckering, you don't want it too tight. Okay. And now I'm just going to weave that in, or just tie it. Like I said, it doesn't matter all that much. Just find a spot up here, and that should be good. Oops. Well, actually, that should be good. It's just in there nice and tight. Oh, there go my dogs. I think my son must have just come in the house. Okay, so I'm going to do 8 of these all together, and I'll come back when I'm on the next. I did forget to mention that every other row, since I went over on this one, I'm going to go under on this one. I went under here, so over, under. It's just the opposite of whatever the row before you was. This was under, so this would be over. Let me start that for you. So that was over, so this one wants to be under. And every now and then you can check it. Like, yep, that one was under. That's over, and I'm going under. And make sure that is correct. It's easier when you get to a different color than your chain. That one's under, I'm going over, so yes, I know I'm correct. Okay, every other row you're going to do that, and that's what makes your plaid. It's kind of like, I don't know, when you were little, if you made pot holders, when you wove the loops in and out, it's the same thing. All right, I'll meet you just when I'm ready to switch colors, just to show you how fun it is. Just another tip, if you don't want to weave your ends in here, and you really don't need to, because it's not a blanket, you don't have to secure it that great. Just take the two side by side, make sure you're coming in from the back, and tie them together. I did the same thing at the top, and then you don't have to worry about weaving it in and out. Leave your top edge open there. Okay, I started the second section, which is going to be our second color. That's for me, it's leaf. I just wanted to show you this. It's about as big as my hand is this section. If you use 8 chains, If we decided to just use 4, you'd have a much smaller section before you started your next color. Either way, looks really good, but it's a lot of fun when you get to do the next color and then the next, and just see the colors working together. I did tie these together at the top. I think I'd really rather just go in at the end and make sure it's secure instead of tying those together, and then just cut them. I cut them down here. They're just going to be on the inside. So continue on. As I said, I'm doing the same color pattern across. You do however you would like to do it. And I'll meet you when I'm ready to sew it together. Okay, I decided to go with groups of 4 instead of the 8. I did the whole thing with 8. And because it's going around, there were just too wide patches on one side. I wanted it to be all mixed in. So 4 of each color, and then you start over again, 4 of each color, and you end up with a dark green. I just tied my ends together. That worked just fine. I cut all the ends. They're going to be tucked in, and I still have my long piece from the top, and that's what I'm going to use. You can either use it to weave in and out on the top to bring it in, or use it to sew your sides together. I'm going to sew my sides together with it. So I need to get my needle again. This is just a cheap tapestry needle. Usually they come with hooks, yarn, little kits. Okay, so I have my right sides together, and I'm just simply going to come across. I'm just going to do a quick whip stitch down. And that all that is catching a stitch on one side, catching a stitch on the other side, and bringing it around, and do it again. That's called whip stitch. Doesn't have to be great, just catch those edges. This is going to be turned inside out, or right side out, in just a minute. So go all the way down with your whip stitch. Doesn't matter if that green shows through. It's just a pumpkin. It's okay. Okay, I'm going to turn it right side out. You can see the stitches a little bit. If you really care, if you're making these to sell or as a gift and you don't want that to show, when you get to the end of a row, when you're changing your color, just leave a long tail. And every time you get to a new color, when you're coming down on the seam, you can just start with that color and seam those together. I didn't care. It's just decor for my house, so I'm not that picky about it. Sometimes I am, but I'm not with this. Okay, so we're going to, I'm calling this the bottom. You can do it any way you want to. I'm going to get some yarn about 3 times the width of this in this color, color A, and I'm just going to weave it through and pull this in. I'll show you in just a minute. Let me get what I mean by that. Just maybe twice as long. There's one, and I'm going to bring it back around to here and cut just to make sure that I have plenty. Okay, let me get it on my needle. And we're going to weave it in and out. We'll be tucking those pieces in. So join anywhere, doesn't matter. And you can just make a knot, tuck that in with the other knots. They'll all be tucked in. You might not have seen that because I don't think I had that in the camera view. Sorry, I just attached with a knot. Don't worry about these because we're going to tuck those in as we go. And all we're going to do is weave in and out. Doesn't matter. We're not counting rows or anything. Just simply weaving in and out. And by doing that, you're going to cinch it. And that's going to make it all gathered up at the bottom. And it will hold your stuffing in. And for my stuffing, I simply used recyclable bags from the grocery store just because I had them. A lot of times I will just get an inexpensive pillow and use the stuffing from that because it's a lot less expensive to do that than to buy polyfill. Obviously, if you have polyfill, you can use it. One of the reasons I like using the recyclable bags is because I can take them out when I want to put this away when the season's over. I'll take it out and that way I can store this flat. You don't have to do that if you have a lot of room for storage. I'm sharing my craft room with my daughter-in-law. So we're sharing storage area. All right, just keep doing that all the way around. I'll meet you when I'm back at the beginning. We're going to just cinch it up, tuck in all our ends, and that will be it for the bottom. I've reached the beginning where I joined my yarn. I'm just going to keep pulling it and tucking my ends in. Pulling some more, tuck those ends in. Pull it really tightly. My ends are tucked in for the most part. Grab it from underneath here. I'm going to pull that really, really tightly. Now I'm going to reach across and just take a stitch. I'm really closing that end up. And now across this way. All the way across. Nice and tight. Okay. And then just make yourself a knot here. If you want to, you can just make a bow, tie a bow there so that you can open this up again. I'm not going to do that with this one. Just cut your yarn, weave it in if you want to. You don't have to. I'm not going to. Again, I'm not making this. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just making this for my house. Okay. We're going to do the same thing on the top. I'm going to use the dark. Okay, I've put my bags inside. I made a chain of 60 and I'm going to weave that in and out. I want to come around these chains. And again, we'll be tucking all those loose ends in. Don't worry about them. Leave part of that down because we're going to come back and make a little curly cue out of it, or you can just simply tie it in a bow. And that way you can open this up again and store it flat. Right. Go over that, under that. Doesn't really matter. I'm not doing anything crazy special. Sorry about my thumbs. I always apologize for my thumbs being in the way. Oops. I don't want to do that. I don't want to pull it too tight. Okay, continue on. Remember to leave one end out because we're going to make a little curly Q out of each side, which you can then tie together and make this so that it's you can pull it off, you can wash it, you can store it flat. That's my main goal, is to be able to store it flat. Right. Okay, I've gone all the way around. I pulled these to be more even. Pull it really, really tightly. Tuck all those little ends in. It worked. I had a lot of ends. Just tie it so that you can untie it later when you want to store it. You can just mush your stuffing in however you want to. Pumpkins aren't perfectly round, so that works out really well for us. Okay, if you want. Okay, I'm just going to tie this in a bow. Cut these ends off. And that's it. If you want to make a stem, tuck that little piece in. I will show you in just a minute how to make a stem, and I'll show you how to make the little curly vines. Okay, I'm going to make the stem. I went back to the wheat color. I thought that looked like a good stem color. This is going to be Tunisian simple stitch, but you don't need a Tunisian hook. It's really, really easy. I'm going to chain however many you want to make it as tall as you want. I'm going to chain 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now, not that first chain, but the second one, just like we normally do. Pull that through, but leave your loop on the hook. Go into the next one, pull the yarn through, leave all the loops on your hook. Continue all the way down the row. I like Tunisian crochet. It goes really quickly. Okay, when you get to the end of the row, chain 1. That's where you're going to go in for your return row. This is called the return when we come back. Okay, yarn over, pull through 2 of those loops, yarn over, pull through the next 2, yarn over, pull through the next 2, and continue to pull through 2 at a time. And the last 2. And you see the vertical lines? That's what you're going to go into. Not this one, but start here. Just like you did with your chains. Yarn over, pull through, leave the loop on your hook. Continue to leave all the loops on your hook. This is going to pull in on itself. Okay, now that you got to the end, look at the very end. You'll see a little V stitch there. That's where you go in. Pull through, pull it up, and chain 1. And now make your return by yarning over and coming through 2 at a time. Yeah, I want to come through 3 at a time, but that's not going to work. 2 at a time, and you'll end up with 2. See how it's pulling in on itself? That kind of looks like a stem. I think it's cute and easy and fast. We're going to do it again. Just keep doing that until it's as thick as you want. And then we'll just sew it together and sew it. There's your end. Right there. Either sew it to the pumpkin or just chain 1. Stick it in there for decoration. You can also use a cinnamon stick or even a stick from outside. I think I'm going to do one more row. That should do it for me. Oops, a little split there. Have you made anything with Tunisian crochet? I have one pattern. It's a baby blanket. It's a two-tone. You can find it in my videos. All right, we're at the end. Find that two loops there at the end. Chain one. We're going to come back one more time. Okay, it's really pulling in on itself now. I think now all I'm going to do, I could crochet it together, but I think I'd feel better about sewing it together. So I'm going to chain one, leave myself a long tail for sewing. And find my needle again, pull that through, just makes a knot so it's not going to come out. All right, let me get this on my needle. If you want, you can use this side. That also looks really nice. And just simply catch one loop on each side. Till you get down to the bottom. You can even skip one, it doesn't matter. See how nicely though that turned in on itself? That's a perfect way to make a stem. Oops. Not like that. I had it hooked around. Don't pull it too tight because it looks really good. I think the width that it is. Make sure you're not pulling that. See? Got yourself a nice little stem. All right, I'll be right back and we'll sew it on. Okay, I've come all the way down to the bottom. You can either leave it straight like this, or you can pull. Oops, that was the wrong one. Pull the yarn that you have been working with. Where am I? I keep trying to pull my tail. Okay, now this is much more impressive. Pull it, and it makes it lean in. That's, to me, looks more like a stem. And just simply attach it to the top. Just stitch it through. Don't go all the way across because remember you want to be able to open this up later. So you can just stick it in there really, and just stitch to any one of these stitches just once or twice. Make it easy on yourself, and tie the two ends together, and it will be on there. And then I'll come back and show you how to make the little tendril vines. Right, the little curly tendril vines. Very, very easy to do. Make your chain around about twice as long as you'd like it to be because it's going to start curling around on itself and shrink up. You can either use single crochet, half double crochet, or double crochet, depending on how wide you want it to be. And you can either put 2 stitches or 3 stitches or even 4 stitches in one stitch, and that is going to determine how tight it is. I am just going to use single crochet. I'm going to use 2 stitches in every chain here. Skip that first chain. 2 single crochet in every single chain. And that's what's going to make it curl. I find this to be enough of a curl and thick enough for what I want. The last pumpkin I made, I used the dark leaf for the tendrils, and that looks really cute. I've also made leaves, but those take me a long time. I'm not that good at them. This time I decided to use the wheat color because a lot of times pumpkins, the vines that they have on them are kind of dry and color of a light stick. So this is pretty accurate. So 2 single crochet in each. See how that's curling up? Okay, just keep doing that and I'll meet you at the end of the chain. Don't tie off. Okay, if at any point it's too curly, then just do a few stitches, single stitches. If it's not curly enough for you, then place more stitches in one chain. Right now, because I'm getting near the end, I'm going to straighten it out by doing just single crochet in the rest of the chains. And then I'm going to make another one attached to this one and attach this to the stem. I'll be right back. Okay, here's my first vine. You could tie off and just make another one if you like, but I found this to work really well, and I can just put it around the stem. Now the first one that I made 3 of these. I'm just going to make 2 this time. So just when you get to the end, and I did a few just single crochets here, 1 in every chain at the end, so that way it's not curly all the way up. Okay, and again, however many you want, doesn't have to be the same as the last one. They're not always going to be identical in real life. So just make it, again, longer than you think you want your vine to be because it's going to shrink up. Okay, that looks good to me. And I'm simply going to do the same thing, going back up. If you want it to be curlier, then place 3 single crochets in every other chain. If you want it to be thicker, then use either half double crochet or double crochet. For me, they're the size of the pumpkins that I made. This is going to be good. It really gets curly. These are fun to make candy canes. At Christmas, you can make red and white and twist them together. And it makes a nice little candy cane. I've lost word. Okay, I only had 1 there. If for some reason you only have 1 or you put 3, that's fine. This is a very, very easy pattern to do. Okay, I'll be back in just a minute. For the last several stitches, or chains, I did just 1 single crochet in each. I'm going to chain 1, cut my yarn, pull it through, and get my pumpkin. Oops, I'm not very good at working this. Okay, I have 2 ends here. You can either sew it right to your stem, you can pull it around and just tie it. That's what I'm going to do. I want this to be all very easy to take apart at the end of the season. And then I am just going to let these hang down as well. Isn't that cute? Throw that on this side. I can see why I made 3 before. Isn't that darling? You can hear the plastic bags in there. Okay, well that is it. I hope you enjoyed this. If you want to make a shorter one, I made one, same colors, a little different pattern, with only 4 colors. And I had 3 of these. I just made another chain while I was at it and made some more tendrils, little vines. So it's the same thing, it's a little bit smaller. Not a whole lot, but it's a little bit smaller. I'll have some pictures for you. Well, I hope you enjoyed that, and the free written pattern will be as soon as I get to it this afternoon, this evening. It'll be on my website, which is www.i-crochet.com. I'd appreciate if you visit my site. And again, all of my patterns are completely free. I don't have any paid patterns. I just like to do this. I like to teach people. I'm a retired teacher and I like to continue to teach. Let me know if you made this. Let me know what colors you use. There's so many different colors that you could do. You don't have to use orange. It doesn't even have to be fall colors. So cute. Pretty soon I'm going to be making a pillow cover with the plaid. I made a chunky plaid blanket, the Modern Farmhouse plaid blanket. It's one of my more popular patterns and I love it. It's actually right across the room in the rocking chair. Okay, well, thanks for watching, and be watching for more patterns coming up soon.